Buddha was asked, what is the nature of the soul? Is it physical? Is it subtle? Does it have the human form? And what happens to it after one dies? Because the popular Hindu belief was that soul transmigrates. The body dies, but the soul moves on. And this idea of a soul stepping out of the body and moving on and eventually finding another body, while visually it is simple enough to conceptualize, oh, this is how it might happen, experientially, it is the dumbest of ideas in terms of imagining that there is something inside your body which is subtle, but it has all the externalities of the body. It can move, it can step out of the body, it can go in search of another body and enter inside that body. There is something fundamentally flawed in this way of looking at the soul. But this was the most prevalent idea back then. And even now, when you talk to Hindus about the nature of the soul, they always refer to the soul as the individual soul. They see it as an extension of the individual. So my soul is different from your soul. My soul looks like me, your soul looks like you. And this is where all kinds of nonsensical ideas of one soul having the ability to dwell in different bodies, ability to enter someone, act like them, behave like them, extend its life by switching bodies, live for as long as it wants, totally nonsensical ideas which are far removed from reality. That is what was most commonly accepted as the nature of the soul and what it does and what it is. So when Buddha was asked, he gives a totally contradictory answer. He says, well, there is a candle and the candle flame. If I blow out the candle, where did the flame go? What happened to the flame? Your existence itself, not just the soul, your mind, your body, everything you know about yourself is a flickering candle. It is real only in appearance. It is real only when you're experiencing it, when you're watching it. Death is simply the blowing out of the candle. The flame does not transmigrate from one candle to another candle. It does not exist independently, disconnected from the candle, while it is looking for a new body, while it is looking for a new candle, which is the Hindu idea of transmigration of the soul. The flame has to detach itself from the candle because the candle is useless now. Or to visualize it this way, the candle is burning and burning. At the last moment, when the candle is no more, the flame disconnects itself and it hangs around for a while till it picks up another candle. But in reality, once the candle goes, the flame also goes. The flame is not separate from the candle. What you are referring to as your soul is nothing but your own mind, your own thoughts, your own desires that you want to cling to, that you want to hold on to. In a way, the candle is your body, the flame is your mind. In asking the question, what happens to the soul? Where does it go? You're basically assuming that this flame can exist independently of the body. But we know that without the candle, the flame cannot exist. Without your body, your mind cannot exist. Not mind as a pure possibility, a pure space or consciousness, but mind that is connected to your body, connected to your thoughts, actions, desires. That cannot exist independently of the body. This is a completely contradictory answer. Now, those who listen to this, those who listened to it back then, and those who listen to it now, they have the same problem of Buddha completely negating the self. He is not a religious teacher. He is not a spiritual man. He is a nihilist. He is life negative. We believe in the continuity of the soul, continuity of the spirit, and that is the foundation of our religion, that is the foundation of our culture, and that is the foundation of all the Upanishads, all the Vedas. Without something continuing, then what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of meditation? What is the meaning of enlightenment? This is why Hindus could simply not accept Buddha's philosophy as a foundational philosophy of life, but only because they altogether misunderstood him. When referring to the soul, Buddha knew that people were referring to the individual soul. Soul that is unique to them, their life. Something that is independently sitting inside their body. Buddha rejected this idea of the soul. He rejected separate individual self. That is why he calls it annatha. It cannot exist. An independent self cannot exist. But Buddha was not life negative in saying this. He was not a nihilist. In fact, he was saying something so profound that people missed it altogether. What he was saying was, when you get to the doorstep of enlightenment, where you have carried your body, carried your mind, carried your idea of the soul, and you're wanting to experience your soul without the interference of your mind and body, that is enlightenment. That is the Hindu scriptural description of enlightenment. It is a moment when the self realizes itself, when the soul realizes itself. What Buddha was saying is, because there is no individual soul, you just become one with everything. You experience nothingness. You discard the mind, you discard the body, you discard all ideas of the soul and spirit. You are in a place of nothingness. But it's basic common sense that nothingness cannot exist by itself. Even to experience nothingness, there has to be something. What is left after everything is removed is that something. That's something that cannot be spoken about. That's something that cannot be destroyed. That's something that cannot be chopped up and divided. That's something you will know only when you experience it. You cannot understand it conceptually. What you are recognizing as soul, if you disconnect it from your ideas of the soul, is simply the fundamental reality of life itself. It is that imperishable, non moving, untouchable, central core of being. Your soul is just beingness, isness, aliveness, consciousness. That cannot be divided. So there is no concept of your body dying and your soul transmigrating and finding another body. This is a visual representation of something that happens in an entirely different way. When your body dies, it is your body because it is the outermost part of your being. It is a habit. Your body drops, but you don't move an inch. You don't have to go anywhere to find another body. The soul is not transmigrating. The soul is exactly where it has always been. By its nature, the soul doesn't move because it is not divided, it is not disconnected. Only limited things can move. Something that is all pervading, something that is everywhere, and at all times the same thing, there is no concept of migration. There is no concept of movement. All concepts of movement, all concepts of migration comes from the attachment to the body. You still want to hold on to that idea of the soul, that immortal nature of the soul, but you have no other way of seeing it other than through your own individual body. So you see it as a subtle body. You see it as something that looks like a body but probably floats around. I mean, if it has legs, why should it float? And if it isn't floating, can you call it a soul? If it is walking, just like all of us, if it is bound by the laws of gravity, laws of physics, isn't it just another body? Now, the soul should have some unique capabilities. It should have the ability to fly, move as quickly as it wants to. But if it has a body, how can it do all that? And if it is doing all that and still it has a body, why? Why is it holding on to the image of the body when it can be anywhere? It can move as fast as it wants. It can attach itself to any thought, but why cling to the body? It is not the soul that is clinging to the body. It is us. We are clinging to the body because that's the only thing we are familiar with. Because we don't have a direct experience of this soul, we compensate for that lack of experience with our imagination.